Yeah, seamless. I'll take the microphone. It's empty. Okay. Take the hands. So I'm talking about seamless. It's a content management system because, yeah, it is. Why do we need a content management system? The reason is that our company provides a number of web pages, and not just since yesterday, but more like decades, probably many years at least. And it's websites for childcare or geriatric nursing or the church. And the problem is that these websites, some more, some less, need to be maintained on a regular basis. I mean, especially in the church website, there are services every week, usually different times, or the same times, but I don't know. It needs to be updated every week. And you don't want to use your web designers to keep these up to date. So from a historical point of view, this sort of grew on us. So when they started, text editor to do some HTML files, or then the front page from Microsoft or Dreamweaver, and then some years later there was Seaside. And if you want to create a website at Seaside as a web designer, you need to know how to write Smalltalk code, which is not exactly what they are doing on a daily basis. So it's not really a solution for them. And some years ago we created seaBreeze on top of Seaside. So you have a graphical editor for all the UI elements that you have on a web page. But this also is not exactly for static web pages, more for applications. It makes it very easy for applications to be written, but not for static web pages. So we started to think about how we could approach this problem better, and we thought about, well, as you do as a Smalltalk developer, you think, well, not just put everything in Object, let's divide things up. So the idea was that you have the data that you want to show, or the information that you want to show on the website. You have the description of how this information is displayed. You have the design. You have a certain structure of the website, and maybe it works better if you separate things on an object level. So we created CMS some years ago, and here you can see there is different editors that you could jump into to edit a certain aspect of the web page, like a data kind editor, where you could describe what objects am I talking about, or which objects am I presenting on my web page. A bit further down you had the data editor, where you could create like instances of this kind of data. You had a file editor, you could configure the viewers, which is seaBreeze component, and you had the web structure editor. This is, for example, the data editor. You can see there is a pop-up at the top, article. This is where you choose what kind of data am I editing, and then you have all the instances underneath. It's like all instances. So there was no grouping or structuring of your data on your website. It was just everything there. Yes. This is the editor where you could configure the structure of the website. So you had a root page and some pages underneath. And the idea back then was that every page that you have displays exactly one object. That's it. Turns out it was not really the best idea to limit it in that way. Here you see an example of a web page. Nothing fancy. So this was very naive and very hard to use because you always had to go into the editor for one task, go back and put another editor. We were jumping around, or one of our web designers in the end had like 10 tabs open in a browser, and every tab was one editor, and it was just switching around there. Created some interesting problems. It was a single user thing, so the web designer created the website, uploaded it, and it was live. So she was the only who could modify the web page. It used a lot of shortcuts, like I said, one page could only display one object, so depending on the amount of data that you wanted to show, your objects became very complicated. And if you think about a web page where you have news on the site, and not just content in the middle of the web page, this doesn't really work with this idea. So we came up with a new content management system, version 2, and it's called Seamless. This is how it looks like, and you have the structure on one side and resources next to it, I believe. This is the website structure where you see all the pages, and it basically defines which URLs you have. And then you have all the resources, and you can group the resources like you want, because you can create folders and stuff things together that belong together. And yes, in this example, it's this example is for a website where you have, like say, some guys like to travel, and they have a website where they show where they traveled. So they have excursions and images of these excursions. So what you can see here is they have this is the inspector where you can edit each object. Okay, so you have the model. The model describes your data. And here you can see an excursion has an icon, which is an airplane. It has a name, an image, and some rich content, style text. And from this you can create instances. Oh. So here you can create instances. These are these excursions, like Italy. Okay, so you can assign an image to it, you can give a name, and you can provide some content like Wikipedia article of Italy. And if you want to display this information, you need to describe this in a way. So we have viewers, which is like a seaBreeze component or like a Seaside component. And in the viewer, you can define the aspects. Like this is the viewer for the main page. It has a menu and heading, like a title on top. And here you can say this is the menu. It's called menu. And when you go back to Seamless and you select this viewer, you can see how this how these aspects are configured, or not configured, but what aspects you defined. And when you create a web page for this, by using this viewer, you can see at the bottom here, you can see the configuration of this. So the viewer for this web page is the main page viewer that you just saw in the other editor. The menu is assigned to main menu. The content viewer is linked to another viewer which has its own configuration that you see underneath. And you can configure everything here. You can also link files to the web page to include, like in this case, Bootstrap. You can also assign a fav icon and all that kind of stuff. And what's interesting about this configuration is that it's inherited. So if you create a subpage, it automatically inherits all the values. And this page is called About, and what you see is that everything was inherited except for the article, and the article was all written by how to find, which is just a different object. So everything on this web page is the same as on the page before, but you just show different data. And if you have multiple objects of the same kind that you want to display, like in this case they have a bunch of excursions that they went to, you can just create a serial web page, which is you describe once how this web page looks like, and then you say, okay, it's operating on a folder of objects, and then you assign the placeholder as the object that is displayed, and then it goes through all the objects in this folder and just creates a web page for each of these things. And one of the requirements for this CMS was that the end user could actually modify the content itself. So we also have authoring pages that you can put anywhere on the website, like /editor, and the end user can log in there. So you can assign a username and a password, and you can say, okay, he's allowed to edit this and that, and in this case it is the articles, and in the folder articles you can modify the article object, and you also can modify images and the excursions. And when the user logs in, he sees a similar editor, and he only sees the objects that he is allowed to edit. Like in this case, he can modify the article, welcome, and the images and the excursions. Yes. Okay, one last thing that you can do is also that we integrated CSS and JavaScript libraries in a more easy way, because if you have like Bootstrap, which has 10 files or more in different folders, they also expect this folder structure to be there, and if you want to upload every file by hand, it's quite cumbersome. So you can just upload the zip file and access files inside the zip file. So here you see this, the zip file is selected, and you see the content, and from the other places you can also access these files. And yeah. So another concept that we introduced was the templates. They are not the templates that you usually have like in WordPress, where you just replace the template of the website with some other template. Here it's more like a template for the whole project. And the idea is that the template contains the models, some objects maybe, the viewers and everything, and you just need to adapt this template to your requirements for this specific web page, so that you don't need to start from scratch. And with that come different roles that, or different roles of users that you have on the web page. So you have people that create templates and can modify templates and know how to model data. I mean, modeling data is not really easy for web designers and these kind of folks. But when they have a template, they can then use this template to modify the web page. So you have the web page editors, and of course you also have the end users who provide content. So the goal is that you can take a project, convert it to a template, and then customize it and create an editor for the end user, and then you can ship, so that you have a very short amount of time that you spend on providing or working on your web page, and that you can spend your time on other projects. So I'll show a demo now of how to do this, to take project, convert it to a template, and customize the data and all this stuff. It's using the web page that I described earlier, that with the excursions where people were traveling, and it's used to create a website for Joe. Joe has a computer shop, and he can help you create or fix your computers or go there, buy computers. Yes. Start. So here you see the web page. You can click on the editor to go to the site. It's easier to see. So yeah, you have to check the template button, and now you can create a new project. Say this is Joe's computer help, and you select the template, and then you start. And now you have a project that just looks the same as the one before, and you can start to remove all the specific stuff that's there for the other web page, and just doing some cleanup at the beginning. Then we changed the model because now we have a computer shop, and the computer shop has employees and not excursions, so we just changed the icon and the name in this case. The rest is more or less the same. And then you can rename the excursions to employees, and you can just reuse this folder to put some employees in there. And also the images, because every employee has an image. And yes, here you can create the first employee, which is usually the boss. So you can create Joe, and this is Joe, and Joe's the boss. And then you can just duplicate these objects for every employee that you have. Fortunately, this company is a rather small company. They don't have 500 users, 500 employees. Yes, in the meantime, what you can also see is that we support multiple languages. Currently, it's only German because this is it's supposed to be a German website, but I'm using it on a German computer, and that's the reason why this project is started as a German project. It should say EN for English. Yeah, you can add more languages to the website, and then you can use these buttons to switch the language that you're currently seeing. Okay, so now this should be the last employee. Okay. So once this is set up, the editor page is created for, well, it's already there, it's just the configuration can be changed. And it's a welcome page. Is of course different. Yeah, as you can also see, there's a custom style CSS. This is just some basic CSS rules that change the color of the web page. You can see that we just adapt some color values in this case, and then the web page already looks different than before. Oh yeah, the background image also needs to be updated because it's not on the beach; it's somewhere in the street. I'll change the name. The menu needed to be updated because we deleted all the objects that were linked to this to the menu, and this is done, and now it can be opened. Yeah, this is how the website now looks, and you can navigate it and see all the stuff that you entered. As you can see, the text is not really readable because it's black, but this can be changed later. And Joe can even log in and modify his content. So Joe's also the best. Save it, go back. Out. And if you now go on Joe's website, you can see that he's, of course, updated content. And yeah, if you go back and just update the CSS a bit. So use white text. You can even read it better. Okay, that's it. Web page is done. And yeah, that's how you can, in 5 minutes, use one template to create a new web page and ship it, basically. So the architecture is that we have VisualWorks underneath and the latest Seaside, and then we have seaBreeze, and on top of seaBreeze we created Seamless. Now you may have noticed that there was another presentation about Seamless today, which has nothing to do with our Seamless, but yeah, it's a temporary name, but we're still looking for a proper product name. And the availability is that it's going to be a commercial product with attractive pricing, but not yet to be determined. Okay, other questions? Yes.
Do you have a database to store the history?
What history? Like
of pages?
Versioning.
version? No, not yet. Any more questions? Yes.
Is it possible to manage videos?
Yeah, I mean you can upload a video like an image and just include it in your web page.
Is it possible also to enter a form?
The question was if it's possible to enter a form. I would say yes, because the editor is also like a form and it's part of the web page. So yeah.
You can put that in your page and the user can enter that also.
I mean the viewers that were used to display the data, it's using seaBreeze, and seaBreeze is made to, I mean Seamless is made in seaBreeze, so you can actually create whatever application you want and include this in your web page. So you're not limited to using static pages. Yes?
Do you support the inclusion of scripts, like inclusion of external fonts or, I don't know,
Yeah.
Google stuff?
Yeah. I mean, the Bootstrap stuff was included. Just in this case, we just uploaded it, but you can also link to it from external. No more questions? Okay.